When's the last time you struggled to express an emotion to others or yourself? Do you know anyone who seems robotic because they never seem to feel or express emotions? In this video, I'll be giving you practical tips on how to master and influence your emotions with tools you can start using today. My name's Jeff, and my goal is to make psychology make sense. Stick around. The first step to understanding and controlling your emotions is to understand what exactly emotions are in the first place. As humans, we all have them in varying degrees, so what's the point? Emotions are complex reactions to the world around us. They're data points that our brains form from a variety of behavioral, physiological, and experiential happenings in our daily lives. They're electrochemical signals that carry messages through your whole entire body. The emotions that you're feeling and experiencing are so much more than just feelings. They're able to change your entire body as well. Think about it. When you get scared, your heart rate increases. You sweat, your senses are heightened. When you get sad, you may feel heartaches or stomach drops. Your breaths may even become shorter and it can cause tears. Many people think that some emotions are good and some are bad, but psychologists argue that they're neither. Emotions are neutral, and we assign a value to them. Things may be objectively good or bad, but the ways in which we respond are assigned by our emotions and physiological changes, which we can control. Emotions will fade in and away, and they do not define who you are as a person. There's a process I'll be talking about later in this video on how to better navigate forming your own emotions. The second step to understanding and controlling our emotions is to understand why we need them. As humans, we're very emotional creatures, and it's part of what helped us survive and reproduce for this many years. Many years ago, early humans didn't have shelter and technology the ways we have it today. If a wild animal were to approach, humans needed something to win the battle. Emotions allowed us to experience fear and fight or flight. It helped us push the limits to get our bodies where they instinctually needed to be so that we could continue to live on and pass our genes to our offspring. There's a trick here though, because we're still very emotional as human beings all these years later, and our brains literally cannot tell the difference between a bear trying to attack us or someone yelling at us because we did something wrong. Both the angry human and the hungry bear create the exact same fight or flight response within our bodies. If we don't know how to control them, we end up in an endless cycle of pain and suffering. We can rely on emotions to help give us helpful information about things, but it's critical we learn how to control them. Think this doesn't apply to you? Well, think again. Everyone could benefit from applying this. Young people need to deal with self-esteem issues and are constantly facing social pressures and norms that social media throws in their faces daily. Parents need to understand how their emotions affect themselves and their children so they don't lash out and create traumatic experiences and emotional damage over time. Firefighters need to be able to understand and control their fear when going into ferocious fires to rescue people. Otherwise, it would just be chaos on the scene and someone would have to save them as well. Soldiers have to control themselves when faced with dangerous situations and react in ways that will help the team survive. Investors have to be able to understand and control their greed and know when to buy and when to sell properly for the best long-term gains. Let me know in the comments down below when understanding your own emotions and being able to control that has helped you in some way. I could go on and on with examples, but you see my point. Mastering your emotions is important for everyone. The third step to properly understanding and controlling your emotions is to know how to navigate those in real time. A great tool for this is called the Feeling Wheel from Gloria Wilcox. She's a psychotherapist who evolved earlier versions of the tool from others who aim to help people get super specific on what they were feeling, how intensely they were feeling it, and what else it could be combined with. I'll leave a link in the description for you to get more details and download the full PDF image for yourself for free. The Feeling Wheel is a simple tool to visualize and navigate emotions. You start from the center and find the basic emotion you're feeling. Then, you continue moving outward and select the next layer of emotion that you're feeling. Following that, You go to the outermost layer and pinpoint the specific emotion you're feeling the most powerfully. By doing this, you develop a stronger vocabulary and context around emotions and have a greater repertoire of tools to help your brain walk through and process emotions efficiently. The fourth step to understanding and controlling your emotions is to put all of this stuff into practice and understand what the process is like for forming an emotion. Typically, the emotional process looks something like this. Something happens, you feel an emotion, your body then physiologically changes, and you take further action based on that emotion. A cycle forms that creates habits of thinking and acting. You create the emotions that you then assign to a good or bad value, and you continue to act based on how those affected you. What you want to do to become a master of your emotions is to add one step in there: emotional filtering. This is the idea that you process something as it happens and understand what emotions you're feeling in the moment, and then filter through them to think constructively about what's happening. This isn't about detaching or removing all emotion. It's about integrating facts, data, emotions, and the environment all into one within your thinking. Know that your emotions are created by your thoughts, which then create patterns of habits and emotional cycles that continue to change your body. I'll give you two examples. Example number one, you and some friends get into a serious car crash where multiple people are hospitalized. You experience a situation, realizing everyone will be okay, and then you get hit with massive bills for all the damages caused. On one hand, you could be thinking something like, wow, this is terrible. Look at all the pain that I caused my friends. Or, oh, look, how am I going to pay for this? This is so much money. I just don't want to drive ever again. Both of these thoughts then create emotions, which will physiologically change your body. This, in turn, changes your long-term thinking over time and creates vicious cycles. You start to drive less. You start to become less trustworthy of other people, and you even become skittish. On the other hand, you could be thinking, as terrible as this is now, things will get better because everyone will make it out of the hospital okay. We'll eventually pay for the cars and we'll be all right. For example number two, consider this. You get a massive raise at work and you move up to a higher position. On one hand, you could be thinking, wow, this is great. They're finally appreciating me for all of my hard work and they're seeing the value in what I bring to this place. Both of these thoughts, once again, will create emotions, which change your body and guide behaviors down the road. You may continue to work hard and put in all your effort into the jobs you do and the things you work on. On the other side of the coin, you could be thinking, oh, this is terrible. Now I'm going to have to keep impressing people and working super hard, and I might even risk burning out from this job now that I got the promotion. Again, the same process. It's ultimately the value you assign them and the ways you frame the situation that make it all what it is in your mind. If you tend to think negatively all the time, you'll tend to behave negatively all the time, and you'll feel negatively all the time. You'll develop resentment and anger towards yourself and those around you. You can be less pleasant to be around because you always play the victim and bring everyone and everything down around you. If you tend to think constructively all the time, you'll tend to behave constructively and you'll start to feel better. You'll create new habits and patterns of thinking that will get you through the tough times much easier, because they will happen to every one of us. The point here is to not disregard everything and make it a positive, but to reframe the ways in which you look at yourself and the world around you and see how you can learn from it and grow, even when things are painful in the moment. We should feel our emotions and express them regularly, but move forward and know when we're caught up in the cycles of bad thinking. There are other things like positive psychology, journaling, breathing techniques, and meditation, and all of that can assist you in mastering your emotions that I'll be talking about in other videos. It's important to remember that most people have a very difficult time mastering their emotions. We usually don't learn about this stuff in schools or homes. We don't spend time when we're young educating ourselves on psychology or learning from mentors about emotional intelligence and mastering our emotions. Take your time to learn what emotions are. Remember why we need them, that we assign value to them and create them, and that there's a way forward for you to deeply understand and control your emotions with the proper tools in place. Practice using the feeling wheel and remember the examples I gave you with the car crash and the pay raise. This stuff takes a ton of work and it feels unnatural because many of us have lived most of our lives without changing this at all. We've developed such strong habits and cycles of thinking that this can all seem so foreign. When you feel emotions, take a second to think what's happening and work on your emotional filter. All this is extremely difficult and can be so frustrating, but with tons of practice, you'll see amazing long-term changes. As you work on navigating and understanding your own emotions, it's super important to acknowledge your psychology as well. And I've made a whole video on what psychology is and how it can benefit you, so be sure to check that out as well. So for all things psychology to help you think, feel, and perform better, stay tuned right here on Psychology of Living.